What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to Helgar's Hole. My name is Splattercat, and we are here today taking another look at Shining Rock Studios' Banished, a nice little civilization simulator in which we try to keep people alive. Now, in the previous episodes, you guys have been marvelously helpful with all of your little tips and tricks that you've been adding along. You'll see that I have the game paused, right? It was paused at the moment. And in the last episode, we had split this over here. So essentially, we had taken this little group of sheep and split them into this major pasture over here. Now, the goal with this, I think, is kind of, I'm going to put the jovial nature aside for just a couple minutes. We're going to talk about what we want to accomplish in this episode. Obviously, a lot of our numbers are looking really good right now. In fact, we haven't really had any close calls. Well, every episode we sort of have that one thing that we run out of, and then I'm like, oh god, and we just like run around in circles trying to get it to work for a couple minutes. But in general, we haven't had any Chicken Little moments in which we're really like behind the curve and people are dying off left and right. What I'd really like to do is actually relocate all of the sheep from up here. And so what I may do is empty this out and get rid of this, because this isn't really a very useful sheep pen. Now, what we had talked about in previous episodes is you need at least 10 critters inside any pen in order to split it. That's why our split button hasn't been working, because all of our pens were smaller than 10. And so that kind of explains why the button hasn't been useful at all. What I am going to do is I'm going to get rid of this pasture, because this one isn't very useful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert it all into this one right here. Now, that does put me a little bit out of the way with regards to my tailoring. But what I may consider then is putting in a tailoring location right here possibly, and bulldozing one of these, or at least turning off the labor at one of our tailors. For example, like this one up here maybe? Where is it? There it is. Probably get rid of this one possibly, or maybe I'll just leave it only on hide coats, because it is bringing back leather from this location over here. I'm not really sure. There is also the distinct possibility that we may be hunting out all the deer. I do see deer over there, and we do have deer over here, so maybe I'm wrong. We have lots of logs. We were developing this area down here in the previous episode to make sure that we were getting enough food, because I had kind of smelled that on the breeze. Not necessarily food on the breeze, but the lack thereof, which is kind of a refined smell. You've got to get used to getting, well, you've got to get used to the fact that the absence of food smell is also just as good as the smell of food. Now, another thing we have to be aware of. Now, we hadn't talked about this at all, so here, let's talk about this. One of the things that has come to my attention is that you can over-harvest an area. And so what I may consider doing, well, once we get rid of this, we need to come up with some kind of crop rotation system. And unfortunately, there isn't any inherent system in place right now where you can rotate crops. So I could say this one is 1, this one is 2, and this one is 1, and this one is 2, so that every other season they will crow hop in between each field. That would be a feature that I would love to see implemented. But as of right now, it doesn't exist, which means that's going to be a little bit of micromanagement on my part. The other thing that we need to get ahead of is we need to start thinking about, and you'll forgive me here for a moment while I pan and scan around, we do need to start getting some more land cleared out. So we don't have any builders ready to go at the moment. I may have to bite the bullet and just keep harvesting here. I do wish that there was a meter of something around here that would let you know how badly your field is screwed up. That is one thing that I do wish that we had, so that we could figure out how close this is to just petering out on us. Unfortunately, everybody named Peter must be really disappointed about that saying, by the way. I don't know if there was just some guy named Peter who was just extra lazy compared to everybody else, and that's how they got that saying. But if my name was Peter, I'd be like, hey, don't say that around me, man. I don't peter out. I get the job done. That is how I do my thing. I'm going to deforest this area right here, and we're going to gather up all these herbs and make sure that we grab all this stuff. And I may try to put a new field right here so that we can rotate people in between these. If we can get this laid down in the next little bit, I think that'll really kind of benefit us. And we need a crop field, so maybe we'll go like, yeah, there's a 15 by 15 right there. We can get away with this, so let's try and get away with it. We're going to grab this thing and we're going to run, and we're really going to hope that crop security doesn't grab us. That's our most ardent hope, that they don't beat us with their flashlight or their whatever it is that they, you know, the glow stick or whatever it is they give security guys out here that are in charge of the crops. I've got one builder left to go. We've got a couple of laborers. One of the downsides is that we haven't had a ton of laborers lately, and I have been sort of hoping that all of these kids right here will grow up very shortly. While I'm on the subject, I went to the movies last night and I saw the Lego movie. If you haven't seen the Lego movie, you should go check it out. I'm really kind of skeptical when it comes to things like that anymore. I'm kind of a movie critic. I'm that guy that's just like, well, I didn't feel like it was quite as good as Scorsese's effort on the part of his work of the last decade. Like, I'm that guy. And unfortunately, what happened is I went into that movie being really cynical, like not knowing who any of the stars were who were in the movies. I didn't know who any of the voice actors were. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm just enthralled by what I'm seeing. I was really just sort of like, this is awesome. So I'm going to turn off work here, and what we're going to do is we're gonna bulldoze this bad boy because I don't think we need it anymore. And that leaves us with an extra ranchero, which I think we need to get rid of through this field down here. I can do it through my menu. You guys have been very much like, hey, you should probably add a bunch of stuff to something. You guys wanted me to open up some contextual menu. I think it was the event log. And I guess I can put it up there. My screen is getting a little bit clogged with It's getting clogged with logs, much like a overabundant toilet or an overstressed toilet, I guess. But in any case, we've got, oh, I've said in any case. See, I've been trying to back off that because you guys have been calling me out on it like left and right. You have no, I get emails. I get emails, guys. And so there's like a couple different brands of email that I get in case you were ever wondering what my email like folder looks like. I get ones that are like, dude, I noticed you say in any case a lot. That's number one. The other one is just like, oh, you're a douche. That's the other one that I get, where it's just some random guy just like throwing stones. And then the third one is from developers who, it's like one-man projects, and it'll just be like one line of text. It'll be like, play my game, and it'll be all panicked. There'll be lots of exclamation points and ones and things. Like, play my game, oh god! And it's just like this panicked developer whose sales are like, I don't know, maybe his sales are not through the roof like he thought they were going to be, and he just sends me a key randomly. It's like, play my game, exclamation point, space, 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 key for Steam, like product key for Steam. Like, okay, I have no idea what this is, but I guess I'll try and play it. So then you jump straight in and you just kind of give it the best whack that you can, because I assume that games like to be whacked every now and again. You got to make sure, you got to burp them like a baby. You got to give them a nice little thump on the back, and then once you've done that, I feel like they kind of come around. So we've got a bunch of builders now who are ready to go. We've also got a trader coming in. Food is looking okay, which our herbs are just now starting to jump back up. So what I may do, a child named Emberlay was born, and we have Ralpha. I'm assuming that Ralpha throws up a lot or something. I don't know. Ralpha, like that's the first half of the sentence, like Ralpha Chunk or something. That's her last name, Chunk. And she's a female because it ends in A. And if we're following typical English grammatical rules, and I think also Spanish maybe, just a little bit, female names tend to end in A. I'm not trying to set up any type of stereotype or anything, but that just seems to be something that I've noticed. So we've got to hide the coats. And one of the things we were waiting for in the last couple episodes, we were really kind of hoping that a cattle farmer would show up. Now, I'm in the bad situation of not necessarily having a whole lot of things to trade. I could get rid of some hide coats, but my big disappointment there is that I don't necessarily have any. Outside of the ones that I have inside, I think I'm just going to have him make wool coats or something, because we've obviously got some of the materials left over here. Maybe we'll just put him on hide coats for now. Let's do the wool coats for the first, because that's going to make 5 coats for us, and then we'll remember to swap him out in just a minute. Now with my other guy, what is he making? He's making leather coats, and is he doing okay with leather coats, or does he have like a ton of wool? Let's go ahead and get him going on wool coats since he has such a massive supply. And we'll just let our leather stack up for a little bit. I like to stack my leather. It doesn't seem like something that would be inherently stackable until you actually get it cured. My dad was actually a taxidermist for a little. My dad is kind of one of those guys who's like a jack of all trades. Like he really like fiddles with a lot of stuff. And he did taxidermy for a little bit. That was one of his big hobbies that he kind of messed with for a few years. And so for a while, you never knew, but there was always like a bunch of dead animals in our house just all over the place, and you could never quite sort out why. And so it's not that he would go out and shoot them. He would get them from other people who would do that sort of thing. So I'm going to turn off the work there. And that means, what do I need here? I need 3 for there. I need 4 for there. So we need 7, and then we need 4 for there. So we're back up to 11, exactly where we were to begin with. And we'll get that crop field going as an alternate to this one. We're going to give this one a little bit of a rest. We're going to stick with this one. This will kind of be our rotational crop field for the time being. We're going to do the best that we can. We've got a child named Rage. She's going to be a Viking in the future. We're naming our children because we're forgetting what they should be doing. So we're starting to name them after what we want them to do. Geraldine the Forester has died of old age, and Tinny Freddy has replaced Geraldine as a forester. Okay, that's fine, as long as Geraldine's got a place. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, I didn't get a chance to talk about the orchards, and I have had a chance to read up and figure out exactly what our orchards do. Our orchards, so it takes them 4 years to grow, so orchards really kind of put you on the back burner for a little while, and you're going to be concerned about your orchards for a long, long time, but I think once they're ready to go, this should be a great source of everything that we need. So we got chestnuts going right there. I may put another squash field down here. And one of the big disappointments is that we haven't really gained anything. what I'll tell you is that we haven't necessarily gained anything by doing this orchard or by doing this field. This is really just kind of treading water at the moment. We are treading a lot of water, which for a society which really has no skills at swimming is a pretty impressive thing. You guys had also mentioned that I might want to put in a town hall in the near future, because it will allow me to get, let's see here. Yeah, we may want to do a town hall because it'll allow us to get new nomads. The reason that I haven't, oh good, we lost Madeline. That's no good. And a child named Wendell was born. Wendell, I don't think they're setting him up for a lot of kind of success in high school. That's kind of a boy named Sue type situation where his name could lead him to be the ultimate badass, like he's always getting into fights so he gets really, really good at it, and so he becomes a badass, or it could go the exact opposite and he could just get picked on all the time. I don't know. I'm going to go with 2 builders right now. We'll swap those out. I'm going to try and be a little bit more proactive. We're going to act as though our city has acne, and I'm going to be more proactive in the terms of that I haven't been swapping our builders out. I haven't been micromanaging it the way that I probably should be in the recent history of our town. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out builders as we no longer need them as we go through the game. Now you're probably saying, Splattercat, why aren't you putting your market over here? Well, one of the things I ran into, I fiddled around with a market in another one of my games, and it was a little bit spread out like this city here. I think the market only benefits you if your town is sort of centralized. So let's say, for a moment, let me put a little bit of a pause in here. We were centralized right here, and our city was this big area. A market would be fantastic for that because it would be able to be put in a centralized location. Now, our city is sort of linear. It kind of flows. So we've got like a little city down here. We've got kind of like a stick-up city over here. We've got like a little bit right here and a little bit more up here. A market is not going to do us that much good because let's say that I put a market right here. It's going to take all the resources that these people need and these people need. Not necessarily these people. It's not going to reach that far. But these people right here are going to get screwed. It's going to grab all their supplies and drag them back to here so they have to walk really far. It's going to grab all of these supplies from down here and bring them up to here so everybody down here can't get food for their house. And basically what you're going to see is all these people are going to die out. And I'm not saying this like out of my ass. This actually happened in my other game. It was sort of spread out like this, and I put a market sort of in a situation right here. He took all of the supplies from this area, and all these people summarily died out really rapidly. And so it was a situation in which all of these guys grabbed all of the supplies for themselves and starved out their comrades on the opposite corner. And so it's not necessarily a building that's very efficient at the moment, or one that I really feel like I'm using properly, so we'll have to be careful with it. It's late spring. We've got the rest of summer to go on all of this. Are we harvesting this finally? Or like when is this going to happen? Because I really do feel as though our field o' nuts is ready to be grabbed and kind of stored. Like, and it is driving me nuts how long this is taking. A wash pot may never boil, but I'm really kind of getting the inclination that I should pour it out at some point. And so in the next, I guess we'll give that a break. I don't know how to tell whether this has rejuvenated or not, or has gotten itself back up to a healthy fashion. I will say that this field is going a little bit slower than this one, so maybe they're not tapped out. I do wish that the soil color would change or something along those lines to let me know what's going on. We need 40 stone for more stone houses, so let's drop another one right there. And we're going to have to give ourselves a bit of time to allow our stone to regenerate. I am going to build some more houses over here. I guess that's what we're going to use the space for that we'll replace all this with. No fires in the recent amount of time. Oh good, are our laborers dying? No, we're just replacing people who are kicking over. So I think we're probably going to have a child boom at some point. I don't know, or at least the ones that are converting over are almost instantaneously replacing the people who have the job that precedes them. So we just got to kind of wait it out. Right now there's not a lot for us to do within the confines of our city limits, and I think that's probably a good indicator that it may be time for us to build the city hall and start attracting immigrants so that they can help us out with some of the jobs that we need, because where we're sitting right now, just not getting the general laborers that our town requires, going through them pretty rapidly. And so now we're starting to see 2 people just rolled over, Ernice and Billison. Billison is one of those names. That's an interesting name. Billison, I can't decide if that's like super classy or if Billison is like just a weird name that somebody made up out of the corner of their mind. I cannot decide. I don't know if this field is going to get done in time. It doesn't really matter because our food supply is looking pretty stocked up and good at the moment. Our merchant has left because I didn't have anything to trade with him for. One thing that I think I will do, though, is let's get ourselves some more herb gatherers up here, because I am feeling vaguely as though we're running out of herbs at the moment. And I do want to keep people happy. The other thing that we're going to need is I think we may need a graveyard pretty soon. We've got a lot of people dying, and our happiness is dropping off, which leads me to believe that it may be I hate this hill so much. I don't know if I could tell you, but this hill has really sort of been a thorn in my side. It has been a hill on my map, I guess. I don't know. It's been a literal hill that we have to cross every time we do anything, and it's really a grouping of space that I wish I could use. We've received an award. Smiles all around. Well, fantastic. In any case, maybe our life has gotten a little bit easier by nature of the fact... Oh, that's going to take a lot of stone. That's a chapel. We don't need that. It's a chapel. We need a cemetery. A cemetery. That cemetery looks okay. I think that cemetery will do all right, but we're out of stone, so we want to leave ourselves a little bit of time to maybe gather up some more stone. That's looking all right. Let's check on our mine down here. 26% still remaining. Up here in our coal mine, we have 83% still remaining, so we don't have to do any large-scale rotational operations to get things done there. Squash is good to go. This squash may not get harvested in time. I don't know if that's because they're walking too far from their houses to get that done. I don't know if anybody in our society actually swaps houses to make their lives easier. These trees are looking a little bit more robust. They're looking a little bit bigger, which is making me happy. We have Virgio. Virgio sounds like the kind of guy who would run like a bakery or something, like Virgio's Bakery. It's out on the corner. It always smells good. When I worked at Blockbuster Video, there was a bakery next door, and it doesn't matter how well insulated your building is, you were going to smell that through the wall, and so I spent so much money at that bakery. I think that bakery probably gained a large portion of my paycheck every single month because the bread just smelled so good. Like, fresh baked bread is one of those things that if you're actively exposed to it, you're going to end up buying some. There's no escaping. It's like funnel cakes. If you smell a funnel cake, guess what? You're buying a funnel cake, pal. And it looks like they're harvesting. Yeah, it looks like the automation is allowing them to harvest on the 1st of autumn, which is good because it ensures that you never run out of stuff. But maybe I should build more houses over here. Let me take a look at the list of people who are working here. So we've got Ifrencer, which is kind of a strange name, Raid. And where does Raid live? Raid lives over here. So it may be a situation where we need more housing on this side. So let's do that. Let's build a couple more houses. I'm going to leave a slot right there so we can build ourselves a couple of wells if we need them. But let's build a couple more houses so that our guys that are laboring over on this side have a place to live, so that they're not walking quite so far. Don't click this button, by the way. This button is a terrible... Why this button even exists? I suppose it's so you can cut the trees in the case that you get an infestation or something. But this really kind of screws you. Hattie the Gatherer has died of old age. I feel as though she would probably be our village like Hatter, simply because she's only 2 letters away from being named after it to begin with. Just for simplicity in the census data, why not? Over on that side, we're beginning the harvest. Down here, we're beginning the harvest. Our food has diminished by about 700, but I like to believe in miracles. So, hopefully, once we get around to it and they start dropping off this food, we'll see this number jump back up to the 4,600 range. I am tentatively watching to see how this chestnut field is going to do over here. Our reserve of stone is low. I know. I absolutely know that our reserve of stone is low. And another person has died, so yeah, I think this building down here is going to be, this is going to be our Obi-Wan Kenobi in the fact that it's our only hope. And hopefully this will allow us to get some nomads who will show up, and it'll speed up our game a little bit, because I feel like I've spent the last couple episodes just on the hillside with my giant extendo monocle waiting, because I like to keep things steampunk. I could have just said that I could have used like a looking glass, but no sir, it's a monocle that's on my eye and goes and it sticks out from my head, so it actually has kind of a leverage problem. You really don't want to extend it while you're sitting on like a cliff or anything, because it may throw you over the edge. But what I will say is that getting my steampunk on there, I've been spending a lot of time sitting on the hill waiting for other people just to show up and help our town out, and unfortunately it hasn't happened as of yet, so I don't think we're going to be able to rely on natural growth just yet. We're going to have to wait for nomads to show up, because really this number has not shifted at all. What I've seen is that we've been dropping children left and right, and it hasn't been damaging them that much. Like, you can drop children every now and again. I feel like there's a threshold for dropping children, but our children number right here, our numerical child number has been dropping. A child named Bale, we'll put him to work in the wheat fields or something, or into the straw fields. So yeah, we recovered our food pretty handily. I don't know where all that food came from. It looks like we jumped by about 2,700 right there. Or no, we jumped by about 2,000. God, I can do math, I swear. Over here at the herbalist, we're going to have to get ourselves a few more supplies. Wood chopping is going to have to happen over on this side as well, because firewood is just not around. And so I'm assuming that people are going to have to walk a really long ways in order to get the firewood that they need. In their off days, you guys had mentioned it I do want to address all these things that you've been talking about in the comments. So in your off days, or I'm sorry, in my off days, you guys have been talking about the fact that my foresters are inefficient due to the nature that there's a lot of rocks and stones in here, they will destroy the stones on their own, just so you know. If you put a forester in here, they will break down all the stones, and that's why occasionally if you look at the yearly or the seasonally output that your forester has, there'll be a bunch of stone in there or a bunch of iron in there. That's because they destroy these rocks all on their own if you don't tell them to do so. Just as a heads up, so I've been assuming that my foresters will get it done. Like over here, it looks like they've destroyed just about all the stone. Over here, all the stone is gone. Over here, all the stone is gone. It just takes a couple seasons. You gotta let them get the deal done, though. You can't ride them too hard. They get grumpy. They're like a Bronco, and they kick you off, and then they file nasty reports. In the suggestions bin, they put things like, "Stop riding me, you dick." They have a lot of little, they're really passive-aggressive. I mean, I have never met a more passive-aggressive society. They've been leaving thumbtacks in my chairs, and there's so many of them at this point. There's 111 people. Who do I blame it on? I don't even know who to execute anymore. I keep shouting, "Work to live, live to work," and they've been building barricades. Like, for a while, there was a barricade right here, and they were gathered up with pitchforks that they were throwing like javelins. They were remarkably accurate with it, by the way. It took a while for me to heal. I actually have like a puncture wound around my stomach area that's been leaking various fluids. And I do think that really we're going to have to come up with some type of like municipal plan before we do anything else. Now then. Oh god, what is this right here? So this is basically the same thing that I had before, isn't it? What does this do? It allows me to cycle through. Okay. And then graphs. Ah. So we've got some graphical representations of all the stuff that we have. That's a graph of our population. Our food has like a little dip going on, so that might allow me, if I can catch like things that are outside of the statistical norm, we may be able to catch things before they happen. Now, ooh, trading items, that's good. It gives me a list of things I actually have. There are no nomads requesting citizenship at this time. And then we have an active location where we can look at everything that we have. Okay. So I'm enjoying this building, and even better, it doesn't require me to have any extra citizens or anything for it to work. It just does its deal without me having to be on its case. I don't know how long I have to let these rest. That's another thing that I'm not really... Tina Freddy has replaced Dwig. Good old Dwig. Dwig definitely sounds like a peasant. My name is Dwig. What do you do, Dwig? I beat stones with my forehead. That's my job. That's what I do. I'm a professional stone cranializer. That's the professional sounding name that they've assigned to it just to make Dwig feel better about his job. Dwig, one of those things, the headbutter, the guy that headbutts the stones to death, because I assume that these are alive up until I headbutt them to death. And in any case, I've done it again. I've done it again. I just can't refrain. It's one of those, it's the sweetest, lowest fruit. It's a pomegranate just hanging out there on the tree, and I just can't help it. I really, really just feel the need to say in any case. But firewood's going to need to recover over this next season. It's looking a little bit low. Stone has recovered. A merchant has arrived. Let's see what he's got for us. He's got a couple things in his mercantile sack that we can make use of. He's got pumpkin seeds. He's got pepper seeds. He's got walnut. Venison, the apple seeds might be kind of cool because right now I think we only have chestnut and walnut. We have like chestnut and almond or something like that. So people are going to be eating a lot of nuts. And unfortunately, people tend to get grumpy when you over-nutify them. Definitely doesn't help with your fat intake either. Well, I suppose everybody's been looking kind of skinny lately anyways. We could sell off some of this stuff. Let's see what we can wrangle with what we have. So it's 320, that's 600, so 720. And so we can actually get up to 1720 right now, which wouldn't be enough for the apple seeds. That would mean that I have to ship things over here, unfortunately. So I guess he's probably not going to be much use to us right now either. We don't have any supplies. I do have a lot of tools. We are making quite a bit of the steel tools, and I think I can look at that through our stockpile here. Let's look. We've got 147 steel tools, 61 iron tools. So let's go ahead and up this number a bit. And we can put that up to 100 iron tools, I think, and then that'll give us 800 to trade with. That's one cow right there for the future, and so that'll be nice if we ever come up with our cattle farm. These guys are breeding like crazy, which is really, really nice. They've increased in number by 5 in the last season, which I think is going to work out to our favor. Where's the nearest stockpile that they're dropping things off at? It's pretty far away. Well, I'll just keep an eye on it. I think this is probably a good place to break off the episode. My name is Splattercat. Thank you. Ooh, those trees are looking extra poofy. Exactly the adjective that I like to assign to my trees. Well, now that our trees are poofy and things are looking better for the year, my name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me here in the Nerd Castle for another episode of Banished by Shining Rock Studios. I've been enjoying it. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. I look forward to enjoying it with you in the future. In the next episode, let's go ahead and increase our herbalists, and we're just going to keep our extra laborers there and hope that people start to mature at a better rate. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Hopefully, we've got enough laborers to get by. Take care out there, everybody, and I will see you in the next episode.